Hey y'all, it's your girl Hope your TV movie Bestie, and I watch good shit, and I just got done watching the first 3 episodes of The Testaments. All right, y'all, we back in Gilead. So strap in because I'm gonna try to summarize all these episodes in this one video. So this might be long. We meet Agnes, who is Hannah, June's daughter. Now, Agnes, she starts telling us about her life in Gilead, and she's a commander's daughter and she loves it. Like, she can't be happier to be in Gilead. She loves her life, she loves her friends, she's excited to one day get her period so then she can be a wife, she can start having children, and she can just do the Lord's work. She has a little crush on her guardian. Now, her guardian is like her security guard guy. He takes her to and from school, anywhere else she needs to go. I think he might actually be her driver, or he's in the car with her. She got a little crush on him, but she's like, pious women, they don't lust after men. She tries not to make eye contact with him. She just keeps it real cordial. She goes to Aunt Lydia's school for girls. Aunt Lydia's back. She's running this school. Now, y'all, I can never fully decide whether I like or hate Aunt Lydia. Like, I go back and forth. Sometimes she's good, sometimes she's bad. So the jury's still out on how I feel about her this series, but Aunt Lydia back. So Aunt Lydia asked Agnes to mentor this Pearl named Daisy. So they have these different ranks of girls. They have Pearls, who are girls who have come from outside of Gilead, and they are, now being oriented to Gilead's way of life. Then they have the Plums, who is what Agnes is. They have Greens, who are girls who have gotten their periods. They have Pinks. I forgot what that is. A pink is like before a plum, but after a pearl. I don't know. That's what Agnes Hannah used to be back in the day when June would be watching her. She was in pink. Agnes's job is to mentor Pearl because, Agnes is a woman of God. She's a commander's daughter. She's the creme de la creme. And so Daisy is to follow her and model her life after her. Now, Daisy seems nice enough, but all the other Plums, they're like, girl, you cannot trust a Pearl. Because, a Pearl has lived outside of Gilead, like in a sane world where people got common sense. The Plums are like, Pearls, they always tell on Plums. So watch your back, girl. Agnes, she decides that she's going to be friends with Daisy and she's going to trust Daisy. Now, they have this situation at the school where they bring this boy before everybody, and apparently he's been playing with himself. And I'm just like, what is the problem with that? Because he ain't touching nobody else. He just touching himself. But apparently that ain't of God. And, he's going straight to hell or whatever. So the girls actually deliver his punishment, which is also crazy to me. The head aunt of the school, she tells the girls what he's been doing. What do you think is his punishment? And so all of them stare at him and point, and they're like, punish him, he has to suffer. And so they like cut his hand off or injure his hand or something. And I'm just like, Lord have mercy. So Daisy is watching this and she is like, whoa, like this is crazy. She runs away and she's like, oh shit, or something. She uses the Lord name in vain. Agnes is like, whoa, that's not allowed. And especially not taking the Lord's name in vain. Daisy's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I have to go confess. Punishment for that. Agnes is just like, it's okay, Daisy. Nobody heard it but me and you, and we don't have to tell nobody. And so Daisy's like, okay, you sure? And she's like, yeah, it's fine. Like, correction, which is what they do when you fall short. She's like, it's pretty intense, so it's okay. It's your first time. You still getting used to the Gilead way of life. You've been out there in the world of sin. It's okay. She decides to be her friend and gonna trust her. Now, Daisy got some secrets. Right away, that's clear. Because at night, Daisy, she gets up, she's sneaking around. Daisy has a radio and she's listening, and it's like, what's going on? It's some kind of code talk on the radio, because it's like a regular radio station. They playing music, and then there's some kind of little code thing where it's like, if you're doing this, make sure you do that. But it's clearly a code. Already we're like, them plums might have been right about Daisy. We might not be able to trust Daisy. So also, Daisy's laying in bed and she starts reflecting on her previous life. So she's from Toronto, so she's in Canada. She's out skateboarding, seemingly having a good time. She comes into this like store / cafe. As she walks by, she passes this lady who we see from the back. And then as she passes her, we see this lady from the front. It's June, y'all! June is back! So apparently that was a surprise, because we didn't know if June was going to be involved with the Testaments or not. But she is back. Now, I don't think that she is going to be in every single episode and play a central role, because this story really is the young girls, and Agnes, who's played by Chase Infinity, shout out to her, is, the narrator of this series. So I don't know how often we'll see June, but it's clear that June will play a part in this show. So glad to see her. So that's episode 1. Now we go to episode 2. Y'all, this is the episode in my earlier video where I was like, should we be watching this show? Because the way I am enraged by this episode. So this whole episode was about Agnes getting her period. And by no means should you be ashamed to get your period. But the way she had to carry on, and I mean tell the whole damn world that she had her period, was crazy. And what was even sickening was the way men, grown ass men, then began looking at her and watching her, and y'all. So she gets her period. And the first thing is she tells her stepmother. So her stepmother's like, you lying? I'm like, who would lie about getting your period? But again, remember, they excited to get their periods. So I'm like, girl, nowadays, Mother Nature, just send me a text and say, you not pregnant, girl. Like, I'll see you next month. But anyway, she hype about her period. So her stepmom's like, okay, we're going to have to start setting up your appointments now. We got to get your teeth whitening. We have to make you as presentable as possible. Right. Because now we are advertising you for men as potential husbands. Right. And again, it's not clear how old Agnes is, but she's definitely a teenager. And like, she don't drive. So, I mean, I guess women probably don't drive in Gilead, but I don't think she's like 16. Like, I would say she's probably like 13, maybe 14. So yeah, we are now whoring her out for men. Okay. She tells her stepmom. Now she goes to school. She get to school, she run up in the tower and is literally ringing a bell. Like, I said, what in the world? Here comes all the girls out to school. Now they in school doing whatever, getting their day going. They're like, oh, someone got their period. They start running, and I'm like, what? So all of them come outside in the courtyard, and then Agnes, she steps up on like this little platform thing, and she kneels down and says something about how God has blessed Ruth and whatever, and she's like, may the Lord open. Now also, I hate this phrasing. Like, because may the Lord open what? Your vagina? Is that what we're talking about? Because if you're saying may the Lord open, his blessings on us, great. But this is all about you getting your period so your womb is ready to have a baby. Y'all, every time she said, may the Lord open, I just wanted to vomit. So she says, I got my period. Everyone's like, oh my gosh, what a wonderful day. She gets a little pin to wear. Great. So they're at lunch, and all the other little girls that haven't got their periods, y'all, they jealous. They are hating on her because she got her period. I said, oh my gosh, I've never heard of such craziness. So this one girl goes, hey, is your pad soaked? What? Y'all, ma'am, get out of my drawers. Agnes was like, no, it's fine. So then this other little girl, I forget her name, but y'all, she's a big old hater. And so she's like, Agnes is like, well, don't worry. I'm sure any day now, you'll get your period as well. And so she's like, yeah, actually, my breasts have been very tender lately. And, that's a sign. And they're like, oh, yeah, sure. And she says, matter of fact, I think they're growing. And they're like, oh, yeah. And then she goes, yeah, my daddy, your daddy, says that I've always been blessed in that department. Your daddy says you've always had big breasts. Okay. Disgusting. Like, y'all. Who the pedophiles. It's so much. So that's all at school. Now, Daisy, why, I don't know, but Daisy has decided she's going to confess about using the Lord's name in vain and all this stuff. So they have to go and have a correction ceremony for her. Now, I guess because she committed this sin with her mouth, she's got her mouth bound and she's like gagged. What the fuck? So she's sitting in the middle of the room. All the girls are around her. Aunt is like, she used the Lord's name in vain. And they're just like, oh my gosh, what a terrible girl. And so then Agnes, I guess because she's her mentor, Agnes comes up and she's like, you're such a dirty girl. And she's like, you're so bad. And then everybody is like pointing at her. It's like, you're going to hell. You're going to hell. And I'm just like, what? So we are normalizing mean girl behavior. Okay. Daisy is just like, I guess she didn't know what to expect. Girl, Agnes told you to shut up and we didn't have to tell nobody about this. You the dummy that wanted to come and confess. Take the gag off of her and she's like, Agnes was there. She heard me. And they like, oh, so Agnes, you was in on this. So now they both in trouble. Now they got to brush their teeth with soap or, I don't know, some crazy shit. So they're doing that. And Agnes is basically like, why did you tell? And she's like, I couldn't not, it's a sin. I'm trying to do the right thing. Agnes is just like, okay, well, I hope you're happy now because we're both in trouble. And she's like, this life is so hard. I didn't expect this. And Agnes is like, yeah, welcome to Gilead. This is how we live. So this is why I told you to not say anything. School's over. Agnes comes home and she's got to start going to these appointments. So her first appointment is her dentist appointment because now she has to start getting her teeth whitened. So she goes to the dentist and her dentist is her best friend's dad. So her best friend is Becca. And Becca is also agreeing. Becca has her period. So she's at the dentist's office. I thought this man was nice. Like, I'm just going to take it that every man we see on this show is just a pedophile and a sicko. So I thought this guy was nice. He's like, congratulations on your period. Again, grown men congratulating little girls on a period. Sick. So she's like, thank you. She's so happy. She's getting x-rays. And when you get the x-rays, they put the weighted blanket on you. So he's putting that on her. And he's like, I hope this isn't too heavy. And I'm thinking, she go to the dentist. Everybody get this. We know what this feels like. And he says, I know your breasts must be very tender at this stage. Oh, okay. So he puts a thing on her and she's just like, it feels fine. And then he's just caressing her breast under the weighted blanket. Y'all, please. I'm so sick of these men. So I'm like, and this is your best friend's daddy? I'm so glad you got your period because Becca's got hers and now y'all can go through this together. And he said, you're very mature for your age and you can just help Becca with this transition because she's really struggling with it. Yeah, of course, I'll talk to her. We'll be fine. We'll get through it. So she also tells nobody about her getting felt up by the dentist. And because who would even believe her? Or they probably would say, great, somebody likes you. Like, I don't know. And then she goes and she talks to Becca. Are you like happy? Because that night, Agnes has this weird baptism because now she's on her period. And again, all the girls are there. It bothers me that they all do these things and everybody watches. Like, they have this baptism and she's getting dressed, dried off, and Becca comes in and, she's like, are we okay? Like, I felt like you kind of mad at me or something. And Becca's like, no, like, we're friends, I'm not mad at you. And she's like, okay, because I thought maybe you felt like I was trying to take your shine because you got your period. Girl, don't nobody care about this damn period. Becca's like, no. She's like, actually, I didn't want this for either one of us. I didn't want neither one of us to be green. Agnes is like, what? And she said, yeah, I don't want to get married. I don't want to have a husband. And Agnes is like, blasphemy. She's like, what are you saying, Becca? I don't want any of that. And so now I'm not sure if we are maybe going in the direction of Becca doesn't want a husband. Maybe she wants a wife. I don't know if we're going there yet. But either way, it's like none of y'all should want a husband because y'all like 13. Like, you should be learning your lesson at school or, I don't know, learn how to read, right? You're 13. Like, stop worrying about a husband. Agnes goes, not want a husband? What else would you do? And I'm thinking, everything, anything. Like, y'all, I just, absolutely nothing wrong with getting married, being a wife, having children. It is beautiful. But to aspire as that to be the climax of your life, that to be your greatest achievement, and somehow if you don't do those things, you are less of a woman, and they don't even think you're less of a woman. They think that God don't even like you. And I'm like, what the fuck? This is crazy. I have to reorient my mind to being back in Gilead and The Handmaid's Tale. It's been a while. So Agnes is just like, Becca crazy. Like, how could she not want to get married and have children? This night, again, we looking at Daisy. Daisy does a lot of weird stuff at night. So remember I told you in the first episode, she got a radio. She listening to some kind of code. Okay, now she in the bathroom drawing what looks like a map of something, I don't know. And so she's hiding out about that, hiding everything away in her room. It's Daisy up to something. Agnes, the next day, her daddy comes home. Agnes has to announce to her father that she's got her period. So her stepmother is like, your daddy's home. He's in the parlor. Go, he wants to talk to you. So she's like, okay. So she opened up the parlor door and it's, I don't know, 100 other men sitting in there with her father. And I'm thinking, what are they doing? So I thought maybe he just wanted to say, hey, I'm back from my trip or whatever. No, she has to go all the way across the room to him. And mind you, all these men are just sitting like this, just watching her as she goes by. And I'm like, creepy, very creepy. So she gets to her dad. She does this whole bow thing, may God open. And he's like, congratulations, you're a woman. All the men are clapping. Woo, yeah, you got one. Yuck. And so, mind you, the whole time she's doing her little bow and, saying she got her period, these men are just looking her up and down, licking their lips, rubbing their hands, just a room full of pedophiles. So that's episode 2, like all about her getting her period. Episode 3. Now, this was a pivotal episode. In this episode, we learn about Daisy, her previous life, how she even got to Gilead. She lived in the normal world. And Her parents owned like a consignment store slash cafe. She would come after school, see them. Daisy was a normal girl. She's having sex with her boyfriend. Just her first time. Like, they hadn't had a lot of sex, but whatever. She's no longer a virgin. Her mom is like, oh, you got this little boyfriend. And she's like, are you, so maybe they're not 13. She's like, are y'all having sex? And she's like, Mom, no. And she's like, well, if you are, it's okay. She said, I started having sex about your age, and I understand you got these urges and feelings and all this. And she's like, Mom, that's enough. And she's like, well, I'm just saying, if you are, it's okay. I just want you to use condoms, be protected, just take care of yourself. And she's just like, okay. And so she tells her boyfriend, she's like, my mom already thinks we're having sex. And he's like, well, yeah, she's not crazy. But she's like, maybe I should just tell her. My mom's kind of cool sometimes. And maybe I'll just tell her that we are, so she'll know and know that I'm safe. And he's like, that's what you want to do. That's fine. One day, Daisy comes to the shop. It's one night, and police and all this stuff are everywhere. So her parents have been killed. And it looks like a robbery, and they were killed in the process. So Daisy's in shock. She's like, oh my gosh, my parents, like both of them. She's at the hospital. They're like checking her out, and social services comes around, and I use air quotes because it ain't social services, but they come around, they taking her phone. And so she's like, can I get my phone? And they're like, yeah, later. We just want to, talk to you, make sure you're okay. Is there anybody else that we can call? Like, do you have any other family? It's just us. Can I just get my phone? She's like, I want to call my boyfriend. And they're like, okay. We'll come back a little bit later, but, start getting yourself ready. And she's like, okay. The start of how she comes to be in Gilead. Okay, so pause there. We're going to go back to present day. This is where the bus accident was. So they're riding to school or something. There's a bus accident, like I said. And on the way, Agnes's guardian, he's always with her. So he's on the bus. And Daisy, she notices that Agnes likes him. And she's like, oh, that's cute. In the normal world, she could like him and it would be fine. She could have a crush on him. And she's like, but here, like, she dare not say anything to him. Daisy is like, he's thinking they're kind of friends. She says, you like him? Yeah, he is cute. And Agnes is like, what? Slut. And she said, what? And she said, you're a slut. Openly lusting after him? You can go to hell for that. And I'm just like, Lord have mercy. After the bus accident, they're all like at the hospital because it's a whole thing. Their teacher, she gets her arm broken. Like, it's a mess. And so they're all at the hospital, they're all getting checked out, make sure they're okay, everything. So one of the girls, she got some kind of injury or something. So they had to check her out. So she comes back and they're like, are you okay? And she's like, yeah, I'm fine. She's like, guess what I saw? And they're like, what? And this is so hilarious to me because they so ready to be wives and have babies and don't know nothing about nothing. So she's like, well, there was this guy in the back and they had to lift up his shirt. And they're like, yeah. And she said, he had hair on his chest. And they're like, oh God, what? Like, hair? And I'm just like, oh, y'all so slow. She said it was crazy. And so then Daisy is like, are they for real? One of the girls said, well, I wonder why he has hair on his chest. Like, what is that about? And so Daisy's like, it's actually pretty normal. Like, most adult men have hair on their chest. And they're like, what? How do you know? And so the little hater girl, remember I told you about her earlier, she's like, I bet she knows all about it out in the world. And so she's like, yeah, I know, because when I lived in Toronto, I was just having sex with all the men. And she said, yeah, I've seen it. And so they're like, and they don't know whether to believe her or not. And so the girl is like, You probably were. And so then Daisy goes, the hair extends. And they're like, extends? What do you mean? And she said, well, it's down there too. It goes below the belt. And they're like, oh God. And they said, God save us, please protect us. Y'all, the way I died, I said, now you think you ready to be a wife, you ready to have sex and get a baby, but you scared of pubic hairs? Fix it, Jesus. I was just like, these little girls are hilarious. So go back to Daisy, her previous life. Daisy is in the hospital and here comes June. So June comes in and June's like, what you doing? And she's like, just having this coffee. And she's like, are you with social services? And she's like, I ain't with social service and neither is that man. And she's like, you're not safe. I got to get you out of here. And she's like, who are you? And so she's like, I knew your parents. I was really good friends with them. She's like, I've been in that shop 1,000 times. Like, you got to trust me. You're not safe here. You got to come with me. And Daisy's just like, I don't know what you're saying. And she's like, we got to get out of here. And so she's like, okay. So she starts, going with June and they're kind of running and then police are coming everywhere. And June's like, they got the building circled. Like, we've got to make a clean getaway. They managed to get out and June is like, okay, so here's the deal. Your parents were a part of Mayday. And she's like, Mayday? Because in school, they have learned about Gilead and the way of life. And she's like, oh yeah, we learned about Mayday. And she's like, wait, you said my parents were in Mayday? And she's like, no. My parents are old and slow and they can't even work their phones. Like, no way they could be a part of Mayday. And she's like, yeah, I know it's hard to believe. And she's like, okay, so here's the full story. Basically, you were born in Gilead. And she's like, do what now? And she's like, just listen. You were born in Gilead. Your mother didn't want that life for you. And so she tried to get you out when you were just like a baby. And so she said, they got you out, but of course they didn't make it. And so they got you to the people who raised you as your parents. And she's just like, wait, so my parents who just died are not my parents. And then you're saying my parents were in Gilead and then the people who raised me were a part of Mayday? And she's like, this is crazy. She's like, you don't make sense. Why would that have happened? Like, I can't even believe this. And so June is like, I know it's a lot. And she's like, but you have to trust me. And she's like, so the people who were at the hospital with you, the people who killed your parents, they're from Gilead and they're coming for you. And she's like, wait, what? Why would they want me? And she's like, because they think you belong to them. Like, your parents, your birth parents got you out of Gilead and Gilead feels like you're theirs and they want you back now. And she's like, I just can't. This is too much. June is just like, don't worry, it's going to be okay. So, Daisy is freaking out. So she runs away. She gets away from June and she goes finds her boyfriend because she's like, let me just talk to my boyfriend. And June's like, like, your old life is over and we got to start this life and you got to listen to me. You got to trust me. And so Daisy just can't deal with this. So she goes, she meets her boyfriend. He's like, oh my gosh, Daisy, everybody been looking for you. We thought you was dead. Like, I'm so sorry about your parents. And she's like, I know. She's like, this is so much. She tells him about June and he's like, well, that sounds crazy. And she's like, I know, right? And so he's like, you think you can trust this woman? Like, and she's like, I don't know. She says she knew my parents, like all this stuff. And so he's like, you know what? We should just go to the police. And I'm thinking, no, we should not. And he said, look, we'll just wake my parents up. We'll tell them, we'll call the police, like everything will be okay. And so she's like, no. let's don't do that. And so he's like, well, what else we gonna do? Like, you don't have no parents. You ain't got nowhere to go. And so he's like, I know you're scared. Don't worry. I'm going to just go get my parents. And I'm like, Daisy, get out of there. So she does. She runs out the window. She's on the run. And June, because June is looking for her, June finds her. And so June is like, let's go sit down. Got to think of a plan. So they go. June is sitting with her. Daisy, I know this is a lot, but like, I promise you, you're going to be okay. I promise you that we're going to take care of you. And so she's like, okay. Soon she gets up and she gives her some money and she's like, here, just keep ordering coffee. And so June starts to walk out and Daisy's like, wait, what? You're just going to leave me? You going to leave me alone? And she's like, girl, you are never alone. She's like, Mayday got you. Mayday has always had you. And she's like, look, somebody else will come. They'll tell you what to do next. But trust me and trust them. And so Daisy's just like, okay, all right. Now, still don't exactly know how she got to Gilead, but we learn that Mrs. Guardian is also working with Mayday. And he is working with Daisy as well. So remember I told you in the other episode, Daisy was making that map. So she gives that map to the Guardian. And she's like, here, I made you a map. And she's like, you know, that bus crash, was that Mayday? Was that us? And he's like, yeah, we think so. And she's like, well, they just gonna kill everybody? Like, what's the plan here? And he's like, I don't know. But look, we got to stay under the radar and we just got to do what they say when they give us instructions. And she's just like, this is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. And so the episode goes off like that. Those are the first 3 episodes. I know it was a lot. Y'all, let's get strapped in. I've got to, I don't know. I'm going to have to put my armor on because I just want to kill all the men in this show. I want to get all these little girls and hug them and protect them. Ooh, we are in for a ride. Are y'all watching? Do y'all think it's a good idea we should be watching? I mean, you know, I'm rooting for everybody black and Chase Infinity. You know, she's a star, so I'm rooting for her. This show be a lot. The way they be talking to women, who the fuck are you talking to? Like, yeah, I could not have made it in Gilead. No, they'd have had me up on the wall. I would have definitely been up on the wall because as soon as you start talking crazy to me, as soon as you start touching me, and I didn't ask you to touch me, yeah, like, go ahead and put me up on the wall. So, anyways, I will be here all season. I hope you'll be here. Let's talk through the trauma together. I'm on all the socials, Your TV Movie Bestie. Like, subscribe, and follow. And I will see y'all on the next show, on the next episode. Bye, besties.